So I'll be taking some cuttings of my kratom, and I want to do an experiment. These are fairly easy to root. I could just root them in just plain water and keep changing it daily. But I want to do it with Sphagnum moss. The moss is probably pretty well known by you guys, but the first time I discovered it was from a user called Pink Lloyd. He used to be a very well-known collector of Psychotria, and he would always suggest it for growing the seeds as well as for rooting the Psychotrias. The properties are very nice. They prevent rot pretty much, and it has antifungal and antibacterial properties, so it prevents rot and certain other diseases. And the cut, I'm not sure if it only grows near the nodes, but it's fairly close. For two of them, I'll be using a rooting hormone, and for two I won't, and I'll just use the Sphagnum moss and just wrap the cutting. So fairly common practice is just removing the bottom leaves, and I usually cut half or 2/3 of the remaining leaves. This prevents it from drying out too quickly, and rather than trying to maintain the green leaf material, it will diverge its energy to making new roots. So I'll be doing this to all of the cuttings, and I'll also do a light score, just like scraping some of the outer stem material to encourage rooting a bit more. I purchased this generic rooting gel. It's fairly weak at 1000 ppm. I think Clone X is around 3000, but it should work fine. And after I cut this all up and make them uniform, I'll show my setup, what I'll be doing. So here's this Sphagnum moss. I soaked it for a bit so that it's full of water. I'll give it a squeeze so it doesn't just stay soaked. And I'll make a root ball using this. So it remains moist but not wet. It's fairly aerated, and it will prevent mold and other issues as well. And here are the cuttings. So like I mentioned, I'll just do a light scoring or just scratching really the surface. Encourages roots to come out a little bit easier. It doesn't need to be deep or even be noticeable, but just small cuts on the root, on the stem, will help the roots come out. And for the gel, to prevent basically contaminating everything, I'll just take a small portion and then apply it to the stem. I'll then allow it to like dry out for a little bit, for a few minutes, and then just place the Sphagnum moss as a root ball. So here's the experiment setup. They all got scored, and only these got treated. They are similar sizes, And I'll just separate a portion of the sphagnum moss and make a root ball around it so that the roots will stay moist and it will encourage rooting. I may even mist it a little bit since it's fairly dry to the touch, but you get the idea. And then I'll wrap it with aluminum foil to prevent light. Here it is, covered the stem with the sphagnum moss, and then I'll wrap it fairly tightly but not compacted. And I'll leave this in a shaded area with some indirect sunlight. And every once in a while I could just dip the head or mist it with some water as well. And in the end, I forgot to mark them somehow that one was treated and the other wasn't, but I'll just see if there's any difference. I can compare it by the amount of noids that I left. So one was treated, the other wasn't, and the same goes for this. And yeah, that's it. Every so often I'll mist it. After, let's say, 2 weeks, I'll check if there's any roots. So it's fairly common to also put this in high humidity, and that's actually a good idea since we're in winter now. I'll probably just place it into like a plastic bag or something, and I'll just keep it in this plastic bag in bright shade. I misted a little bit of water into it so it remains quite humid. And like I mentioned, I'll give it, let's say, 2 weeks, and I'll check if there's any roots. Here they are, and it'll be in this location.